Hello and welcome to the On the Knob podcast. I'm your host, Will Rooney. Today I am joined by Henry Gibbs, Darren Butler, the other side of the RC, and we have a new recruit joining us all the way from the TwoFromHome podcast. It is Jay Dutton. Jay, thanks very much for joining us this evening, 2 weeks away from the festival. You must be really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's getting closer now. It's getting me through the days at work anyway.
You're obviously a Scouser like us, but you're just a little bit away from us in height and weight and 80. But how did it all unfold for you? Your passion for racing?
As far back as I can remember, I've just been seeing either horses on the telly or being at a racetrack. So I suppose I had no choice in it really. But as I've got older, I've obviously got a lot more into it. Started off as a kid, used to just go on the 6 weeks holidays. My dad used to take me down to Haydock in August, and then as I got older, I just got into it more and more.
And I've asked the other lads when we started this, best horse that you've seen racing, or favourite horse, maybe not necessarily the best or most talented.
That's a hard question. I've seen quite a few, but probably it's hard to go against Auto Star. I was lucky to see him a good few times when I was much younger, but obviously I knew what a big horse he was around at the time, but only looking back now, you can really appreciate how good he was and what he done, and Single Creeks, King George's, Gold Cup, stuff like that. You think now there's no horses around who's capable of doing anything like that, is there?
Definitely not. No, very versatile. Something that we'll all concur with. We'll get into day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival, lads, which is a few weeks away now. And the opening race on the card is the Marsh Novice Chase, and a lot of people are excited, obviously, to see Envoy Allen run, who now has changed to the Henry de Bromhead yard after the Gordon Elliott incident, which has been very well documented in racing. 5-6 Envoy Allen, despite changing yards. Energumene for Willie Mullins is 7-2, Monkfish 7-1. Both look like they're going to go to the Arkle and the RSA respectively. Chamblue 8-1 for Dan Skelton. Chancery House 10-1. Sport and John won the Scilly Isles 12-1, and it's 14 the rest. Jay, we'll come to you first. Envoy Allen, obviously it's move yards, and there's going to be a worry whether change of feeds, etc., are going to disrupt the horse. But would you still be backing Envoy Allen to win it?
I think looking at it, it's impossible to take Envoy Allen on, isn't it? He's took everything that's being thrown at him, and he's proved too good for everything, really. Personally, the change of stables, my personal view would be, I don't think that's going to affect him that much. It's not like he's a young, inexperienced horse. He's a 7-year-old. Most of his work for Cheltenham will be done. It'll just be a matter of 1 or 2 more pieces and then keep him ticking over. Obviously, things like feed and that, you'd think trainers will want to be keeping horses on the same feed, not messing around, stuff like that. So I can't see it being a negative as such. But I know Paul Nichols was saying it's not ideal. Obviously, it's not ideal, but that doesn't mean it's a negative. I don't know whether you watched the TwoFromHome videos, but at the start of the season, we had an each way anti-post bet 50-1 or over for Cheltenham, and I actually put Allard up for the champion hurdle, thinking he'd be staying over hurdles, and then since then he's gone over fences. I actually put him up on Twitter for the Marsh at 40-1, 50-1 for the Arkle, and now it doesn't look like he's going to come here, so I'm a bit gutted with that. Bloody backed him for everything apart from the Coddle, which is likely his target now if he makes it. I think this is going to be a small field, isn't it? It's going to be about 8 runners maximum. You say, Orgamay, Monkfish, horse like that aren't going to go. Whether you think Chancery House is good enough, probably not. I think, he's 4-5 now. He's going to be shorter on the day, isn't he? You're probably looking at probably about maybe even a 4-9 shot on the day.
Darren, obviously, Jay's mentioned the feed there. You'd like to think the way it's panned out with Gordon Elliott, it's going to be amicable, isn't it? Whatever stable the horses are going for, it's not going to be bitter about it. You'd like to think there's going to be clarity and openness between trainer and new trainer and owners as well, and going to try and make it as seamless as possible to make sure that the horses are at the best when they turn up at Cheltenham.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only imagine they'll all be as professional as possible, but I suppose we're not going to know. I don't think there's anything that we can look back on where horses have moved stables so close to a festival, especially like Cheltenham. So, I couldn't be opposing, like everybody, I'm sure, Envoy Allen. I couldn't oppose him with his CV. And the way I love the way he runs, the way he bosses races is just like, it's like as if he knows how good he is. But at the same time, I don't know whether I'd be rushing in at this stage and backing him at them prices, just because maybe the change is not going to suit all the horses. And I would be keen to, I suppose, have a look to 2 days beforehand, see if any of the Gordon Elliott horses that have moved, how they've run, and have they run up to form and that. I know Henry de Bromhead said today that he was settling in well, but he's going to say that, isn't he? And they won't know till they turn up in Cheltenham, because as James said, the work is done with him now, so there'll be very little done between now and then, I'd imagine. So yeah, look, he's the winner. You can't find anything past him, but I would be keen on. I like I said on other pods, I wouldn't be an odds-on backer. If he was close to evens, though, you know, could end up being the bet of the week if he's okay. But I would be looking at maybe something each way. I do like Chamblou. He won over 3 miles at Christmas, the Cato Star, and Dan Skelton was very keen to say he was going to drop him back in trip and thought he was more suited to the shorter trip. So I do like him. He was beaten by Sporting John. It's very heavy ground, and as I think I said around Sporting John the other day, you know, I'd like to see him do that again before I'd be taking that form too serious. But for me, actually, I'm going to go for Willie Mullins each way. Franco Deport, 16-1. We're second to Energy at the Dublin Festival over 2 mile 2. Has form beaten Derver Star and Felix Ligier. He's now going up in trip. I can see this race cutting up. Hopefully we'll get the 8, so we'll get the 3 places at 16-1 now. And Willie Mullins has won the race 3 times in the last 6 years. So I think I'll be hoping Envoy Allen wins, and I think he will. But if there's any kind of chink in his armour at all, possibly Chamblou if you were going to go for a win bet against him. But for me, my main bet would be Franco Deport, 16-1 each way.
Henry, I know we'll all agree that Envoy Allen should be the favourite, but has he beaten anything of substance that makes him this banker that people are saying he is?
Certainly not over fence as well, but he obviously won the Ballymore last season pretty convincingly, and to be honest, looking at the odds there, 5 to 6 with Sky Bet, I'd be very surprised if he goes off any higher than that, because like we've mentioned, the field's definitely going to cut up. Backing odds on shots isn't my cup of tea, especially in a novice chase, but if you're a massive Envoy Allen fan, I'd probably advise taking the 5 to 6 and I'm running no bet, because I can see it going off more 8 to 13, 4 to 7 on the day. A lot of people did fancy Chamblou each way, and it was easy to see why. He's got arguably the best form in the book over this side of the Irish Sea, and I think a lot of people have jumped onto that now. He was 9-10-1 earlier in the week, and he's between 6 and 8-1 now. If you can get 8-1, you could maybe see the logic in that, but I think 6-1 now, you're only getting a fifth of the odds, so I don't think there's much value there. A lot of the other runners, they're either not going to show up or they're going to go elsewhere, and the one I think could run into a place at around 20-1 mark is Fusel Raffles, but we need no rain basically in the run to Cheltenham, which, looking at the forecast, we may well get. He's got solid enough form around Cheltenham. He's won there twice this season. Don't get me wrong, he was disappointing in November there when he pulled up, but he bounced back well in December over this distance on soft ground. And I think he's being basically put away for this, waiting for the spring ground. And he might just expect Harold Jacob to hold him up near the back off the pace and just come through with his run. Like I said, I don't think he'll pick up well enough to go past Envoy Allen, but I can see him running past other horses and I am running into the places, to be honest. And there's 20-1 with a bookmaker there, and I think that's more than fair. And I'm running no bet.
What about Hitman Henry? I thought you were going to say him instead of
Fusel
Raffles.
To be honest, he was definitely on my list, and I looked at Paul Nichols released a stable tour earlier in the week, and he said that he was very tempted to go to the Marsh, especially with it likely to cut up, and he would have been my selection. But he said if he runs on Saturday, he's jocked up for now with Bryony on board, that he'd it's very likely he'll be going straight to Aintree from there. So again, there's no harm in backing Hitman non running no back, because I think he is a serious tool. But yeah, it looks like it's running on Saturday at Newbury, and then it'll probably win at Aintree.
Good stuff, lads. Fair to say then we all fancy Envoy Allen, Darren.
Yeah, Envoy Allen, yeah, to win, yeah. Franco the fourth each way.
Jay,
Envoy Allen.
And Henry as well.
Yeah.
Good stuff, lads. Well, we'll go on to the Ryanair Chase, which been bumped up to Grade 1 status a couple of years ago. Darren, I'm going to come to you on this one because a lot of the purists say there's no place for this intermediate trip between the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup at the festival. You're obviously a few years older than us. You've watched a lot more festivals than us. What's your opinion on the Ryanair Chase? Has it been a good thing for the festival, or would you rather see just the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup, and you think that it's diluted those races?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been a favourite over the years, but I do think it's starting to find its way, because I'm if you look at maybe the card coming up now, you know, Alaho was actually, I had him backed anti-post for the Gold Cup from earlier on in the season. If this race wasn't here now, I don't think he'd even be going to Cheltenham, because there might not be a race for him. Min, again, you know, what a race last year. With Samson Min, I don't fancy Min this year. I think whatever happened last day in Leopardstown, I need to be convinced he's okay, and there hasn't been an awful lot of talk about that as well, which I find a little bit unusual. I think it's coming into its own now. I think it's finding a race that you know, there's a lot of horses that are going to kind of be put into races that aren't going to see out the distance, or they're going to be running too short. So I do believe it's took a long time to find its way though, because there would have been a time I wouldn't have been too fond of it. Mellon, I like Mellon, but he just doesn't win. He just doesn't seem to have he has good form in the book. He runs in top class races, but you would like to see him at 6-1. I just find it hard back in the 6-1. That just doesn't seem to get his head in front too often. We have to go back to December 2019 for Min. Last time Mellon won a race. Sorry. So I'm actually going on. If Min turns up and he's okay and a year older again, he will be hard to beat. But I'm not convinced after the last run. So I'm going again today. There's a bit of a pattern of each way bets. Fanny and Destroval, the Phoenicia Williams trains, won the Ladbrokes Chase in 2019, and after that, Phoenicia Williams said that they really liked them, and it was one of the best jumpers she had. They talked it up as an Arca horse that year. Something went wrong after its next run because it missed the whole season. And I just feel that has a great chance each way. It's a big price, 33-1. But my horse for the win would be St. Calvados. It's funny, Will, you asked me when I first come on the pod what horse favourite horse, and I said St. Calvados in training because I seen him a couple of years ago at the Dublin Racing Festival, and I was just blown away by him in the paddock. So he was stunning. He looked great. Didn't win on the day, and I wish he didn't look so well. On the day. Yeah, trust me, I wish he didn't look so well. I wish he didn't look that well. But yeah, there's a few of us, few people listened to me when I went back to the table in the bar and said, "Oh, you want to see this lad?" But yeah, I think he's a year older. He's got the Cheltenham form. Second last year as a 7-year-old, I thought he ran well for a good bit in the King George. I actually thought he was running very well. We know he's not a stayer. He's not going to stay any further than this trip. He's only run twice at this distance, actually. So I like course form, especially for the festival, and with the extra bit of experience, and the likes of Min now being a 10-year-old, and the question is after his last run, Mellon not winning enough, and Laho has to prove it. So I think St. Calvados is very solid. I think he's got really solid form, and I think at 9-1, he's the best value for sure.
Henry, I know you're a bit of a fan of Mr. Fish, and he has Ollie Bell on the podcast last year, and he fancies him for the Paddy Power. 8-1, Mr. Fish, is that a little bit short, or do you think, given his winning the Peterborough Chase, he's got a real good chance to come and win over course and distance again?
Yeah, I think Keith and Mr. Fish is going to be the grounds. He's definitely a lively player if we get good to soft grounds. But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think the price may be gone a little bit. He was 16-1 the other week, and he obviously hasn't done anything since his Peterborough Chase win because he's been in a stable and he's halved in price now, and there's still a bit of a cloud over the Nicky Henderson yard, so I wouldn't be touching it from an anti-post perspective. I was actually looking through my random Cheltenham anti-post bets that I put on like April 2020, and I found a sneaky little tenner on Fakir Duteries for this at 33-1, and I'm hoping someone can convince me that he could win this race, because I don't know. It was a good run last time out behind Shaq and Poursoir, but he definitely needs to take another step forward to win this, because it has to be the best renewal of a Ryanair Chase we've had for quite a long time. With Allaho, I think he's a favourite that you've probably got to take on. I know he's 5-1 favourite, but what's he really done this year to
do you think
justify?
Henry Allaho's your archetypal horse in the Ryanair, one that's not good enough for the Gold Cup, so they're dropping back into it, but it might not have necessarily the speed to win this?
Yeah, definitely, and I think it comes back to last year's Cheltenham Festival where everyone was wanting it to run in the Marsh Novices Chase, but Cheveley Park wanted a horse for the RSA, and it obviously ran a fantastic race, finishing third behind Champ. But everyone thought last year, watching that RSA, that it was going to turn out to be a very good race. But when you think about it, we don't really know too much about Champ. He ran a great comeback race in the Game Spirit, but we still don't know what level of form he's going to offer this season, really. It's a bit of a guessing game, and Manila Indu's been a bit disappointing. So he's then obviously returned in the John Zerk and a Punchestown where he was well backed on the day. He went off 11-4, and it surprised me really, because I thought he'd be a bit of a drift and he needed the run, but albeit it was very finished fourth behind Aplutard, again beating 20 lengths, but I don't know. He was impressive enough beating the mare Ellie May last time out over this trip, and I just think he'll be staying on strong over this trip, but I think he could be too far back. I think to win the Ryanair, I think you need quite a bit of speed. Looking at the past winners, it's very rare it goes to a strong stayer. It's more that horse that's got a bit of class, bit of speed, and can just grind it out like the likes of Men. So it's not one that I'd be putting my money on. Imperial Order's solid, bound to get a run for your money, but he has to show that there's no jumping concerns. I know he unseated last time out, but he's not for me at the prices. The one I do like, unfortunately, is Melon. I just think he comes alive this time of year. I think he deserves to finally get his head in front. Last year, he was only beaten in nose by Sam Crow, and he was staying on an extra stride he would have got there. So I'm hoping that shows that he can get his head in front. It's not that he's unwilling, although, like Darren said, he hasn't won for quite a while. Made a pleasing comeback run, Punchestown on heavy ground in the same race Allaho ran in, but he was beaten 7 lengths by him, but we all know he prefers better ground, and the race for me was the race at Leopardstown and Savills Chase at Christmas. He was just tanked his way through the race. Patrick Mullins got some rad out in front and just got beaten by a stronger stayer at the trip in Aplutard, and then never runs well at the Dublin Racing Festival, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. I don't think the racing style, of being held up suits them, and I expect in the Ryanair he'll be back to front running, and I think with the forecast he'll get his favourite ground, and I think this could be the year that Mellon finally gets his head in front of the festival, and 8-1 for me is a fair enough price at this stage.
And Jay, last but not least, anyone stolen your funds today? Is there something else that you fancy?
No, I think obviously Min sets the standard, doesn't he? He's the best. Well, he has been the best horse, but things haven't gone to plan for him. Obviously pulling up last time after making some strange shapes over his fences. he's not getting any younger. So, these things to take him on with. But for me, that Allaho was an absolutely shocking favourite. Min beat him 34 lengths to John Deacon. He hasn't won in 6 attempts left-handed. He's 3 from 5 right-handed. And his form in grade 1 just isn't good enough. And on top of that, I don't think he jumps well enough. And he's only rated 162. I just not a horse I really like. And if you were being really picky, you could probably say it's a tripless horse. He won a 3-mile novice hurdle, didn't he? First go over hurdles, and then they put him in the Albert Bartlett. Obviously, comes second in that behind Manella Indo. And then, in the RSA last year, they rid him like a stayer, and he didn't stay. And I don't know how good that form is myself. Mellon, I really like. I think if he was a double figure price, he'd be one of the best each way bets of the week. Obviously, he comes second in the last 3 festivals, but I think his record's something like 3 wins from 21. So you're not really wanting to back him there at them prices, are you? What else? I think the winner, though, Imperial Aura. We had David Bass the other day. He really can't wait to ride this horse. Just think he's a brilliant jumper, travels well. Festival form, beating Galvin last year in the Novice Handicap Chase, who's Galvin's obviously well fancied for the amateur, the 3-mile 6 race now, isn't he, on the Tuesday? So, yeah, I think the one with the most improvement to come, and probably the less question marks around him, would be Imperial Aura. I wouldn't be too fussed about that last time. It wasn't really like a bad mistake or a fall. It was like a lapse in concentration. I think he's seen a shadow or something and lost focus, and the horse was no worse for wear off that. It's not going to scar him minimally, but what he's 6-1, I think he'd be the one I'll be backing all day in the Ryanair. Yeah,
I mean, we had Kim Bailey actually on the podcast, and he said he weren't too concerned about that. But do you think it beat a lot when he won at Ascot in before Christmas, weren't it? That's the only worry, innit?
Yeah, no, you're all right there. Obviously, the form from that race wasn't great. He was great to watching it, but you always felt watching that race, he always had the race won. There was never really any anxious moments with him. So, you can only sort of beat what's in front of him in that sense, can't
you? Definitely, yeah. So Imperial Order for you, Jay. Darren, just to touch on it, Mellon for you.
St Calvados for me.
St Calvados for you, sorry, and Mellon for Henry, isn't it?
Can anyone convince me Facha do that he's can win? Because I need some encouragement here.
What if he has on it a tenner?
Yeah, on the nose though.
I'll give you 650 on it. If you want to lay it off. Right, lads, we'll go on to the feature on the Thursday, which is the Stayers Hill, and it looks at an absolutely cracking renewal this year, because we're going to see the rivalry of Paisley Park and Time Hill renews. Paisley Park 10-3, Time Hill 7-2. Obviously, they've had one up on each other already this season. Sides of Bailey, who's one of the last renewals of the Pertemps, 8-1. Roxana 12-1. And 14-1 the rest. Henry, I'll come to you here because you obviously love Time Hill. 7-2 at the minute. Have you backed him at the start of the season before he even had a run after his novice season? And would you be backing him now at 7-2?
I wish I did back him at the start of the season. I was umming and ahhing, and I ended up just waiting. Unfortunately, I think he was around 14-1 as well. So kicking myself a little bit, but I think he'll be a similar price on the day to what he is now. I don't think there'll be much separating the front two, but I do favour Time Hill. I think Dickie Johnson was kicking himself a little bit last time out, wasn't he? I don't know, the horse travelled that well. He got to the front a little bit too soon, and he was just nabbed on the line by Paisley Park. And I don't think he lost anything in defeat, did he? And he obviously beat Paisley Park first time out this season. So, like you said, 1-1 going into the decider. But I just think with the spring ground, and I always like to back the up-and-coming star. Time Hill, he's only 7. He seems to be getting better and better. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Paisley Park's finished yet, but he's won a Stayers 2 years ago. He's 9 now, and I'd much prefer Time Hill out of the front two, but would I be backing any of them now? Definitely not, because I think there'll be similar prices on the day. Roxana's going to go the mares, I think. So it's tricky. If you're looking at one to maybe run into a place, you'd have to think maybe the storyteller, because if he's allowed to come over, he's been a model of consistency for the last couple of years now, and although it was a very similar run to Side of Bailey in the attempts last year, and Side of Bailey's basically half the price of the Storyteller, and I think it was just a better ride from Barry Geraghty that separated the two that day. And you look at his form this season over jumps and hurdles, he's been very, very good. And even last time out, he was staying on like a train behind Kenboy, and I think they're going to come here. And I just think if there's going to be one that sneaks into a place, it could well be the Storyteller. So it's Time Hill for the win for me, but I do think the Storyteller could run a big race.
Jay, you're a Liverpool fan, Paisley Park. Will you backing it through sentiment, or will you be backing it through your brain and your pocket instead?
Yeah, I'll definitely be backing it with my brain. I just think Paisley Park, he's proved he's over his heart troubles now. And I think when he is right, I think he's close to unbeatable. I mean, he's only 9, but he's one of them horses. He seems like he's been around forever, doesn't he? Yeah, when he's on song, I don't think anything's getting near him. I do agree, though, that Philip Hobbs' horse, I think him and himself are well clear of the rest, even though the Irish have got an okay hand in this race. Probably the first time in my lifetime I've been looking forward to the Stayers Earth more than the Champion Earth. It's a really quality race this year, isn't it? Loads with some sort of chance. Yeah, Paisley Park to win, but everyone laughs at me when I say this, but I think if you want one at a wild price, Sam Spinner 66-1. Obviously, he's been off the track, he's had all sorts of injuries and that, and he's a bit of a lunatic, but when he's on a going day, he's a very good horse. He's 5th in his first Stayers Hurdle, wasn't he? And he was 2nd to Paisley Park in 2019. Just think if he banged out in front and he's just on a mad one where he's just going, jumping for fun and just travelling, I think he could get a few jockeys in a bit of a panic. And yeah, 66-1 would be no shock to me if he hit the frame.
With Paisley Park, obviously he had the heart problem last year. I think Philip Hobbs has written that off and said that horses like Demi have had that problem in the past. So would you not be concerned about that when you put the bet on it all? Would that be in the back of your mind?
Not really. Like, it's not like it's his next start after that, is it? He's had starts since then. He's shown his well-being. He's shown he's over them. It's not even no ill effects on him as such. So yeah, I'd just be happy to think that was just something that went wrong on the day for him, and he's over it now.
Darren, Jay fancies Sam Spinner. You fancied another Sam's Adventure, which you're absolutely gutted about as being pulled.
Yeah, that's Sam's profile. Yeah, pulled out today with leg infection, so that was my banker of the week. Yeah, gutted isn't the word. I'm a Paisley Park fan. I love the way he battled well, beating Time Hill last time. I fancy him to do it again. The way he out battled and the way he stayed on up, and the hill will be just perfect for him. It's a race I'm really looking forward to, and like I think Jay said, that it's even a race that's more looks better than the Champion Hurdles. So yeah, I like him. I think he'll stay on. I thought Roxana was going here, but someone said there that she's going to Mares. I think they're better off going to Mares. I don't think she has a chance here. I see Paisley Park winning, and I think the best of the Irish, possibly Fury Road each way, has some course form. Came toward the Albert Bartlett behind Monkfish. Time Hill was actually 4th that day. He was beating a neck in the Boyne Hurdle there a few weeks ago in Navan. That was very heavy ground. I would think that's a little bit disappointing, but it may well be just a nice warm up for him. He ran bad in Leopardstown, but if you look back at his record in Leopardstown, it's not great. So it could be a track. Leopardstown doesn't suit everyone, so it could be a track that just doesn't suit him. So I think if he runs, he's got a great each way price. I can't see anything past the front two on the market, so we're looking at each way really with him, I'd imagine. And the fact that we don't know if you get there because he's in Gordon Elliott's yard, but Jenkinstown did say they're leaving their horses there, so you'd like to think they'll all make it over. But for me, Paisley Park would be a great price. I think he's 3-1, 10-3.
Yeah. What about Kenboy? 20-1 as big as, and Willie Mullen said he might go here. Obviously, he's a classy operator, genuine grade 1 horse over fences. Do you think he'd be good enough at 20-1? Like if he could convert the horse over to that form over to hurdles, he'd surely be banging the mix. Yeah,
I think he'll. I think he'll go a cup with him. I just think it's too much of a gamble after I think if he'd placed in Leopardstown at the Dublin Festival, they may well have thought of coming. But I think just after winning the Irish Gold Cup to go for a stairs hurdle, I just can't even see the owners wanting that. And I mean, is Willie thinking more of Willie than the owners? Because Willie loves to win any race at the festival. He always said that. And I just think, in his mind, he possibly be the best of maybe what he has that he could throw at this. But I'd be astonished if he doesn't turn up in the Gold Cup after that win. Definitely. I mean, if he did turn up, he could easily be, and like he did have, was a Pentail that won, I think, at 20-1 a number of years ago. So he's no problem, sending out a big price winner. But I can't see Ken Boyd going anywhere else other than at the Gold Cup. The fact that he's a different owner to the likes of Albion Photo and that. So yeah, look, Paisley Park for me, I think is really solid, and I think it's a really good price with Fury Road each way, especially non-run. I know about it now because it will put up, I think.
Paisley Park then, and Jay, same for you, Paisley Park?
Yeah, Paisley Park for me.
And Henry, you're very much in the Time Hill camp?
Yeah, Time Hill for me.
And I'll have listener guard Oscar each way. I thought it ran a decent race at Hayes off last time out, but I thought the jockey went a little bit too hard. Would like to give it a little bit of an easier time on the home straight with Cheltenham in mind, but last year's winner, 16-1, can't knock that. Right, lads, we'll finish with the Mares Novices Hurdle, which was introduced, a few years ago. I know Paul, who comes on with us, he's listening in the background now, but he's not on. He backed Limini, must have had a big payday on her when she won a few years ago, when she absolutely hacked up just not long after Thistle practice. But we have at the minute Hook up 11-2, Royal Kakala 6-1, Rosie's Hollow 15-2, and 9-1 Bar. Darren, I'll come to you on the Mares Novices Hurdle. It's a difficult one to predict this, but could you have a say in it if you had to pick one now?
Yeah, it's a hard race to get excited for, isn't it? You'd like to think that maybe as time goes on, it'll find its place in the calendar, but I like Rosie's Hollow. I know Hook Up is there for Willie Mullins. I did back Hook Up actually in its last race against Appreciated each way. It was 50-1. He came fourth, but I wasn't that impressed with him, to be honest with you, or with her. I think Rosie's Hollow, Jonathan Sweeney trained. I think she'd be a good price on the day purely because who trains her. JP bought her straight after the bumper win in 2019, and I think she's got solid form. She beat Global Equity in the Mares in Hurdle at Fairy House, and that horse then came out and came second in the Mares handicap in Dublin Racing Festival, and also finishing the second in the Apple Shade in Navan. So they're two solid runs to boost the form of Rosie's Hollow. As I say, I'll be waiting for the day. And I was thinking a nice each way bet was Glancing Queen, but I think I checked it today, and there's a lot of other people must be thinking it, because when we started looking up the start of the week, I think she was 16s, and now I only seen 8-1 one bookmaker today anyway. I like her because she's raced against all sorts, all comers. She actually she's good form against Brave Man's Game, who we mentioned the other day, and I do fancy him for the Ballymore as well. So if he goes in, it'd be a good boost for her. She finished behind Wild for Oscar last race, very heavy ground. She has run on it, but she does seem better on soft or better. So yeah. It's a hard race to pick. Rosie's Hollow at the moment, and at 11-2, I think she might well even be bigger on the day.
Jay, difficult to predict this, isn't it? Anything that you can give us at this early stage, or are you waiting on the day to have a bet?
Yeah, it's a difficult race to be getting enthusiastic by at this stage. Like it's I don't know, there's no like real standouts. Mares Novice at this stage. Do you think the Glancing Queen? Good shot with her. I think she's one of the typical mares who was just better against their own sex. I don't know. I've got no idea if she's going to come, but one that would interest me at a big price if she was to turn up would be Santa Rosa. Some of her bumper form was absolutely brilliant. I mean, she's been finishing up with horses like Colreevy and a fabulous horse like that. She's well highly tried in bumpers, like, but she's only had the one run over hurdles. I think she come third. She wasn't beaten before at all, and that was behind a decent horse. I mean, she might be a bit light on experience, but I mean, that doesn't really come from much in a race like this, because Mullins had that year where he had Concertista, Neglity and the Sea coming over, and they were both light on experience and went first and second there. So if she come over and she was still 33 to 1 on the day, I'd definitely have a go on here.
Henry, just finally come to you. What I'm going to say to you is, where is Ant, who is normally on with us, his nap of the festival when we start the podcast, Queensbrook? Where is he? It's not even in the bed.
I don't know, it says a lot, doesn't it? Says a lot.
Alice Plunkett.
Maybe that's why he's not on it.
Alice Plunkett's charity best, tenner down the drain, isn't it?
I know, God love him. I think his other one now is it's not. Oh no, it was If the Cat Fits, wasn't it? But he's gave listeners plenty of winners with Show Royale, I suppose. So we can let him off on this occasion. But yeah, this echo what the lads have said. It's probably the race I'm least looking forward to at the moment in terms of a race at the festival. Rosie's Hollow, Royal Kahala, and Galoise, the Mullins horse, they're closely matched, aren't they, with the run last time out? I think it was a slowly run race, and Rosie's Hollow showed the best speed really and won. But I think if you run that race again with a bit of pace from the start, I think you'd probably get a different result. Hook Up was similar to Darren. I actually backed it behind Appreciator 50 to 1 each way, and I was willing it on for third, but unfortunately has only managed 4. I do like the form with Geldings. I think she's probably, you could argue she's a worthy favourite on the basis of a run last time out, but the one for me is actually one of Willie Mullins' other horse, and it's actually a maiden. It's Glen Evantrum. I think this horse has just been crying out for better ground, to be honest. And if you look at his form, he ran at Leopardstown over Christmas, over 2.5, and she finished 3 lengths behind Statler in second, and I just think that was a very eye-catching run, because we know Statler is held in high regard, and I just think if she gets the better ground, which we're likely to see, I think she'll run a very big race, and I think she's around 12 to 1 at the moment, so she'd be the one I'd play from an anti-post perspective, because I can see there being a little bit of a gamble on her on the day.
Yeah, Concertista was a maiden as well when she won it last year, weren't she? So that's nothing to worry about.
Exactly. And the more I look at it, the more I'm tempted to even back her now.
So just to clarify, Henry, who you want?
Glen Evantrum for me.
Jay, tentatively.
I'll just stick a pin in me and see what he has.
And Darren, as well to you, tentatively.
Yeah, tentatively Rosie's Hollow, yeah.
Good stuff, lads. Well, we'll wrap up by getting your naps of the day 3 of the festival. Jay, you go first. You get a selection out of the other 2.
I'll go Imperial Order in the Ryanair.
Darren?
I'll go St. Calvados and the Ryanair.
Oh, we're going to have to do a forecast there then, aren't we? And Henry,
you know what? I'm going to give a nice big price nap. I do like this Glen Evantrum. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm convincing myself, you know. I think she's going to run a massive race.
Are you going to deposit now after we finish here?
Potentially, yeah.
Good stuff, lads. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Jay. Thanks very much for coming on. Don't forget to go and check out the Two From Home podcast as well. I'm sure they've got superb content ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. I've been your host, Will Rooney, joined by Jay Dutton, Darren Butler and Henry Gibbs. Join us next time.